band in Norway is not only one of the best bands in the world in terms of musical performance, but it also runs like a well-oiled machine behind the scenes. A huge factor in making today's bands a success or otherwise. We were delighted to catch up with Viggo Bjorge about what is involved in running Eikanger, but we started by asking him about his long history with the band and when his first association with this famous band started.
Well, I joined the band in August 1977, but of course I had been following the band because both my siblings were already playing there.
And what got you involved with Eikanger in the first place?
Well, of course, it's a kind of family thing, wasn't it? With my siblings there, and also a lot of friends, older friends played there. We were all in the school band together, and then I caught an interest in the concept of bands. I started playing the drums in the local school bands, and they needed a drummer. And so when the conductor at the time, Tom Brevik, asked my mother if I could join the band, she said yes, and I was told that I had joined the band. So that's how it was done those days.
Now, you mentioned Tom Brevik's name. Of course, Tom is now a legend in Norwegian banding circles. How much of an influence was he, Viggo, on your early career, and how much of a mentor is he still to you?
Well, he had a massive influence on me and on all of us in my generation and the generations to come, because he was bringing something new into the banding, local banding. And he was ambitious and he was a good teacher. So he inspired us a lot.
Wonderful. He was one of our adjudicators at the Band of the Year contest a couple of years ago. And I have to say, he was an absolute gentleman. Now, you're still involved with the band, Viggo, very heavily now. Tell us what your role is now.
Well, formally, I have the role as one of two vice chairmen. We have a chairman of the board and two vice chairmen. One who is in charge of the running of the band, the daily running, which is me, and another one who is in charge of the musical matters, which is now our principal cornet, Henning Arnensen. And the role I feel is also then the role of a band manager. So that's what I spend my spare time with.
Okay, now the business model, if you like, of the Eikanger-Bjørsvik band, it differs from so many bands here in the UK. It's a subscription model with members. Tell us a little bit more about that, please, Viggo.
Yeah, and we are fully registered membership organization. So every player, every committee member, we can be a democratic organization, and then we qualify to membership in the Norwegian Band Federation, and you qualify for funding from the state, etc.
And how does that work? Is it one member, one vote, Viggo?
Yes, in the band it is.
Okay. Now, if I wanted to be a member of Eikanger Band, how much would that cost me each year?
Well, for the membership fee and a kind of administration fee, you would have to pay every year a total of 130 euros approximately. And then, of course, you have to pay, if we go to European, you have a part to pay there. And if we go on other tours, there may be some costs and there might be some extra here and there. But in general, we are quite low cost band.
Most bands would have a budget each year of how much it costs to run their band for the year. Roughly, what is Eikanger's budget?
Let me think. I think our budget for this year is about I have to be corrected, 250,000 euros.
Okay.
I think approximately that. Yeah.
So how do you balance those books off, Viggo? Through concerts, through commercial income, through state support? What is the split of that?
If you compare us to the, let's say, top British bands, I think we will have to say that we don't earn much from concert fees because most of the concerts we do of any substance, we organize them themselves and we lose money on them. But we most of our funding comes from grants and the support from different funding organizations.
And how much of the band's activity is involved in the local community and in engaging with the youth in the local area and around Bergen?
We have a summer school every summer where approximately between 25 and 30 bands are represented with their young players. Not so many from each band, but still, so we get involved with them. We expect our players to be available to work at the summer school, if not every year, but during your career quite a few times. We organize instrumental days, like the trombones have to organize 1 or 2 days a year for trombone players, etc. And we have kind of a program called EBML Talent, which is for extended the 10-piece, where we go a little bit further with super talents. And we have now taken over a regional youth band, and we do different things. We have a percussion ensemble, and that is, of course, in addition to the days you spend with the band, but it also does something with every player. It makes you feel whole as a musician.
Absolutely. It's a wonderful ethic, Viggo. Is this an ethic that you have instilled as band manager and chairman, or was that already in place before you started?
Well, no, it wasn't in place in that to that extent. But if we go back to just before I joined the band, and Tom Breivik joined as conductor in 1973 already, and with the generation of that time who run the band, when they started this improving and putting up goals to be a better band and to be compared to English style brass bands, they were quite forward looking, because the already then the Eikanger band and the Mange band instantly started to work with the local school bands. If there weren't a local school band, they initiated it.
See, you quoted to me there, Viggo, that you wanted to be in the style of English brass bands, but I think now the tide has turned. It should be the English brass bands who are looking across to Norway and Switzerland as the model on how to run modern brass bands.
It's interesting how the table turns, isn't it?
Yes, it is.
Well, you can see it in any kind of business, that there will be new ways of thinking, and of course we are lucky in one way, that we are not held back by any tradition.
We mentioned earlier, very briefly, the Norwegian Music Federation, and this is a national body that covers not only brass bands but every form of music. How influential and how important are they to Eikanger?
They are extremely important, because they organize all bands, as you say, wind bands, brass bands, school bands, adult bands, ambitious band, top bands, and also what we call coffee bands or whatever. But of course they own the competitions, they own some of the festivals, and they run them very well. It is important to have an organization which covers everything.
Yeah, I think a lot of other countries who are listening to this, Viggo, will be very jealous of the Norwegian model, and you guys are really, really leading the way in that. So congratulations on such a wonderful effort. Now, we recently heard as well, Viggo, that Eikanger Band was the recipient of a very large funding donation, reported as maybe 1 million kroner. Can you tell us a little bit about this?
Yeah, that's correct. Actually, we've over the years got 1 million kroner, which is 100,000 euros each year, from a philanthropist, I guess you call it,
Yes.
called Trond Moen. He's one of the richest persons in Norway, and he has his aim to give away all his money before he continues into whatever comes next.
Do you have his telephone number?
I've got it, but I won't give it to you. But no, he's really, really big. He's given billions to science, to hospitals, and same to sports. He is concerned that you have to give something back to the community where you come from. He's open, clear a member of the Labour Party in Norway, and he pays his tax with great pleasure. And the fact he supports us can seem a little bit unnatural, because he never actually supports the elite, because because they have this attitude that if you're only elite, you can fix it yourself. But if you're elite and you take a big responsibility, like we do, give back to next generations, he says that of course we should be funded, because of course we need to spend a lot of money on quality music making. He's a good friend of the band now, and he has given us approximately 400,000 euros over the last year. So it's fantastic.
Well, we've not seen each other in person for over a year. Let's remedy that this year, Viggo. We at Brass Pass are going to be over at Cities Brass in November again this year. Let's hope everything's back to normal for then. We can have a few beers at the bar afterwards, catch up on old times. And until then, our best wishes to you, Viggo, and everybody at the band. And thank you very much for your time in joining us today.
Thank you, and thank you for the invitation.